Welcome to the PaynePoints Podcast. We enjoy telling the stories of everyday people, whether that be small business owners, entrepreneurs, or people with a passion for their community. We want to highlight them and give them a platform to share their story. So grab your favorite beverage and join us on today's episode where we tell the story of someone just like you. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Sarah Harbuck, and joining me is Kristin Ellis.
Good morning.
And our very special guest, Molly James of the Kurth Animal Shelter Advocates.
That's right.
Woohoo!
Glad to be
I'm
here.
getting
Glad
off on
to
a
be here.
great start this Sunday.
Doesn't matter. Glad to be here.
Molly, thanks so much for coming in today.
Oh, thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about something important to a lot of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Molly, for those who aren't in our community, she is a longtime animal advocate. And if you're friends with her on Facebook or you run into her anywhere, she is always preaching about helping animals that are in need. And I think that's a great message. And she's just so passionate about this particular subject. So we wanted to have her on to talk about all things animals and animal shelters and what we can do to do our part in helping speak for these creatures that give us so much joy and
Can't speak for themselves.
Yeah,
Cannot
they can't
speak
speak for
and
themselves.
therein lies the problem. They cannot speak for themselves.
So we got to do
we
our
are
part.
their voice. It is up to us. The motto of CASA is their lives are in our hands.
Yes.
And we really, that may sound dramatic, but is it not the literal truth?
Right.
Yeah.
And I have volunteered at Kurth for approximately 10 years. And over the course of those years, we've tried our best to bring awareness to the shelter, educate people about what it's about, and work to improve the conditions there and realize that this is not a problem that should just fall on the shoulders of the staff at the shelter. This is a community problem. This is something we can all do something about, even if it's just talking to your neighbor about what
just
can
education.
you do. Education,
Yeah.
knowledge is power. That is my new mantra. I'm just knowledge, because it's just so vitally important. And there's so many people here in Lufkin and in Angelina County that just really do not understand. They don't understand what an open intake shelter is. And simply it means that Kurth Animal Shelter is an open intake facility for this county. In other words, they are required to accept any animal that is not wanted. You can surrender your animal there. They take in the strays that they find within the community. So, people bring them in. They are required to accept them. And this roughly adds up to maybe it varies, but roughly around 5,000 a year. Kurth has an approximate capability of holding roughly 200, give or take,
At any given time?
at any given time.
Okay.
So the numbers
seems
don't.
like a lot.
It is a lot.
But at the same
But
time,
at the
it's
same time,
not
when you consider how many you've got
Right,
coming
it's not
in,
enough, yeah.
it's not enough.
Yeah.
So we just want to educate people about what we can do together as a community within the city and in the county to lessen these numbers coming in. And we preach against spay and neuter your animal. Be a responsible pet owner, please.
Yes.
For goodness
And,
sakes.
we understand nobody's passing any judgment here.
Exactly.
Everybody has their own battles and struggles that
is
they're going
true.
on.
That
And
is true.
sometimes it's the best thing for the animal
It is.
to let them go
Right.
somewhere else. And I
Right.
no judgment to anybody if you've
Right.
ever had to surrender an animal or anything like
No,
that. Circumstances, things happen.
Things do
and
happen.
that's
right.
why places like Kurth Animal
Right.
Shelter are here, and people
And
like you are here to help.
Right. It does provide a very, very vital need for the community.
Yes,
Because,
very much.
as much as we try to lessen dogs coming in there, we also don't want dogs or cats to be dumped.
Right.
For goodness sakes,
That
don't
happens
take
a lot at my
and
house.
that happens
Yeah.
a lot, especially for those of you, God bless you, that live out of the city limits. And I have received so many, calls, emails, or something, just saying, "What can I do?" And I wished I had better answers. I wished I had just a magic wand to fix it and this and this and this, but it does not exist, and it won't happen until we can collectively come together and just say, let's try to prevent litters.
Yeah.
You know, really,
that's
if
the
you
best
think
thing you
about
can
it.
do.
And I
Right.
had spoken last October to the county commissioners with this same concept. Let's be realistic. What are you going to do? How are you going to really stop people from dumping animals? You can't. What are they going to do? Put a camera on every rural road, you know, and have an officer watch
Right.
everything, you know? It's just almost virtually impossible. Although there is a law against it.
Sure.
There is a law against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, how do you,
For all the good it does.
for all the good it does, how do you stop it? So, you know, what I was hoping to do and stress and to open up that can of worms is, you know, let us just work together to provide even more low-cost spay-neuter programs, to have an outreach program, maybe even in the county, just for the county.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
just and whatever that entails. I would love to have vets come on board and, you
Right,
know,
right.
Dr. Jeff. You know how Dr. Jeff goes out and with his goes out to the county with his mobile unit and they spay 50 animals a day. You know. I am realistic, but you have dreams in your head. But it's just so important if we can learn to be proactive and prevent litters. Then Kurth would see a reduction in what they have to take in.
Well, I love that you have jumped right into the meat and bones of what we wanted to talk about. But before we get too deep into that, I wanted everybody to kind of have a little bit of a better picture of who Molly James is. So why don't you just tell us a little about yourself, your family? Do you have kids, grandkids? What's your life like?
Oh, yes.
All that jazz. And
I definitely have grandchildren.
because this is why we wanted to
Yes.
have you on. You are so passionate about this subject that you just completely forego talking about
Oh.
yourself at all. And I want people to know who you are.
I don't know about that. I'm a senior now. I'm officially, yes, I am a senior.
Y'all can't see this, but she doesn't look like it
No,
at all.
not at all.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. But
I want to be you when I grow up.
Oh, yeah. I've lived here since 1964.
Oh my goodness.
I was born in a small town of Liberty, Texas.
Oh yeah.
And we moved here when I was about 9 years old. Graduated from Lufkin High School in 1973. Married, had 2 children, and went into early childhood development. I actually worked for
A preschool, right?
a preschool,
Yeah.
right? Pine Tree Preschool
Yep.
for almost 34 years,
Oh my goodness.
and retired about 4 years ago.
Wow.
Animals have always been a part of my life, even when I was very small.
I was going to ask, have you
Yeah.
always
Yeah,
been passionate about animals?
When we were in Liberty, of course, we moved to Lufkin. We lived inside the city, and I couldn't have all the animals I was used to. With some withdrawals going on there. But we had horses. You know, I've grown up with. I had an alligator, a pet alligator one time. We've had everything. You know, horses, rabbits.
Yeah.
All kind of little sweet pets, cats, everything. And I've always had a deep appreciation for the animals and what they bring into our lives. I've never had an experience with an animal that he didn't touch me in a positive way. You know, so
Yeah.
it's just dogs.
So this has been something that's been germinating in you
It
since
has,
childhood,
it has,
basically.
and I've always loved animals. My family's always loved animals. We're just big animal, people. So
Right,
my
right.
kids grew up with animals, dogs especially. I've very seldom had a moment in my life I did not have a furry friend with me. And
I understand.
as you get older, you learn more. And when you learn more, then you want to do more, do better. After I retired, I really became more involved in advocating for the shelter. Although I have volunteered at Kurth Animal Services and Adoption Center, 1901 Hill Street, for approximately 10 years. When I first started volunteering, I followed my sister Harriet Bushman around because she was already doing this, and it just became something that she and we would do little fundraisers together, to build money for the vetting fund, and it just grew from there. And when Kurth Animal Shelter Advocates was born about 2 years ago in July, it'll be 2 years in July,
Yeah, it was.
we decided what can we do to focus specifically on what's going on at the shelter. And then it crossed our minds, that if you want to change the shelter, you have to change the city and the county. This is an outreach thing. You can't just say, I'm going to help these dogs right here, because these dogs are
How did
those
they get
dogs,
there?
right?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to go back to the source.
source, yep.
And the source is within the city and the county. So therein lies what we're really working on now. The outreach program, awareness, education, just to become people involved as much as they can, and to do whatever you can. Not everybody can do the same thing. It's like, we so often, someone will say, oh, will you do this, will you do this, well, you're so great. No, it's not. Everybody, whatever you do in whatever capacity, is important and vital. Even if you cannot foster a dog, you can share the dog. If you do not have the resources to give monetarily, that's fine. You can do other things. You can volunteer. You can come up there and take the dogs outside. Oh golly, you know what that means to them, to get out of
Give
a
them
kennel,
some
and take
attention.
them out into the paw park or in the backyard, and just let
The
them
problem with
run.
that is that I feel so bad, and I want to take them all home. And
Everybody
I had
does.
It is difficult.
We have
It is very hard.
4 dogs and 4 cats,
And it's very hard.
We're at our capacity.
Yeah.
I'm at my capacity.
Yeah.
I'm at my capacity.
Every
At my
time I go,
age,
I just
yes.
want to take them all. I just
I
want to take them
do,
all.
and it is something that you have to
Curb.
You just have to, you look at it,
It is
objectively.
difficult.
It is hard.
It's probably a big reason why a
right.
lot more people don't
Do not.
don't
Right.
do it
But
because
you're-
it's emotionally difficult.
It is very hard.
It really is.
To do. But there's other, you can. I know that they always need blankets. For
Oh, yes.
cleaning out your linen closet.
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
collect your
Newspapers,
newspapers,
blankets,
litter,
all of that.
any of that
Paper
kind of
towels
stuff.
and bleach.
Every bit of it.
Right,
Every bit of it.
right. There's
Right.
there's always something.
That's what we do. I
little
just
you
take
can
donations
do.
quite a lot
Which-
because it's just I can't
see?
take any more animals.
You're a spoke in the wheel. There's
Yeah,
your wheel, and there's
yeah.
all the spokes. So you are helping with that.
Yeah.
You're a spoke in the wheel. Everybody can do something, and no one thing is less than the other.
Sure.
Right.
So
right.
everything
It
is
all-
appreciated.
It all helps.
It
Yeah.
all
yeah.
helps.
And
every-
all
every
together,
bit
if
of it.
everybody does something
Right,
little,
right.
everybody's doing it. and
Everybody's
it
doing
all-
it.
then
And,
it
and the
all adds up.
results are you're helping these animals. So
Yeah.
it's very, very vital for people to understand that. So many people say, oh, well, I can't do anything. If you can even share a dog.
Yeah, on
You can
Facebook,
do that. Mhm.
there's lots of, lost and found,
Exactly.
groups or
And
or
networking
there's-
is very
yeah,
important.
Yeah,
It's very
lots of
important.
things. Somebody found his dog showed up on my porch.
Exactly.
Get that information out. Shoot, what was it? 2 weeks ago, we had one of ours got lost after she ran off during a thunderstorm.
That's right.
And it was through Facebook and people sharing. That we were able to find her and get her back.
Exactly.
We had a dog show up at our property a couple of years ago, a 3-legged dog. She comes hopping out of the woods, and there was a pack of them actually, and she was the only one that wanted to come up to me. And
Right.
she came over, and I'm petting on her, and she could tell she'd been somebody's pet, and I just thought, well, this animal's been cared for. I mean,
Right.
its leg had been amputated after some kind of an accident,
Right.
So I took pictures of her and we posted it on Facebook. And after, I was like, I can't keep her because we've already got so many animals. But like, she's the sweetest thing ever, and she obviously belongs to somebody. And after about a week, the owner, actually, the person that she had been with, contacted me, and I found out her whole story and what had happened.
Sure.
And she was just like, look, she had puppies, and I've got all these puppies, and she had a lot of life difficulties. She'd been in the hospital, and she thought that Gypsy ended up being her name, had died because she hadn't seen her in like a month.
Yeah.
And so she was like, I was like, well, do you want me to try to find another home for her? It sounds like you are overrun with
Right.
other responsibilities.
Right,
and she was
right.
like, as much as I hate to lose her, yes, I can't financially
Right.
keep doing this. So
Right.
I worked with Wendy's Misfits, which is a local
Exactly.
rescue, and we got her spayed.
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend of mine that I've known for years and years and years had just lost a dog the year before that looked almost exactly like Gypsy, and they took a liking to her. And anyway, she went to a family friends, and I was glad for that because I
See,
get
that
updates on
works
her
out. Yeah.
lately.
Seeing
So
it
it
works
worked
out.
out great.
Right.
Facebook's a great networking.
It is, and that is
tool.
one reason I got into Facebook was simply to do this.
Yeah.
Of course I throw in my grandkids and
Sure.
children too.
Of
And my
course.
husband. Everyone, okay, but yeah, that was, I guess, the primary reason. Like you said, networking is so important, and it does help tremendously.
With
It's
the
wonderful.
social media and technology today, these animals that might not have ever found their owners again are. You know?
Exactly.
And now I know a lot of them don't. and they get
Right.
rehomed or what have you. But
Right.
still, it's better than nothing at all.
It's better than nothing. Encourage the public. We can, and I know this happens. It's happened to me. Dogs can get out. They can just flat get out. Even when you think, oh, they cannot, they can.
We have an escape artist.
Yes. So try to make sure they have tags on. With a phone
Have 'em,
number
get 'em
or
microchipped,
chipped. Get them
yes.
chipped. So it's easy then to follow back to where they came from.
Yeah.
It is.
So,
I
It's
found
really important.
I found an old. She was an old girl. She was an old black lab with a duck, of
Oh.
all things, with a big white duck on the side of the road one time, and I
Aw.
stopped and I saw this odd
companion.
couple, and I stopped and she had a tag that had a phone number on it, and it wasn't the owner's phone number. It was the number of the rescue that she had originally been rescued.
Right.
So but through that tag I was able to contact them. They had that number on file that was on that tag,
Right.
and we were able to contact
Yeah,
able to
right.
find her home.
Right.
And turns out that duck was just her best friend, and they
That is
did
so
everything together,
sweet.
and she
Aw.
got out and the duck went with her.
That is so
So
sweet.
That's adorable.
They were
little-
That's like
bonded.
a Disney cartoon right
Yes,
there.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
the funniest thing. She came home with me, and I just drove. It wasn't very far from the house, and I drove as slow as possible, and that duck followed us
That
the
is so
whole way
sweet.
home.
You should have had funny videos on that.
Oh,
or
I've got
something.
some
That-
funny pictures.
Oh, that's adorable. Well, that's a great thing about Kurth Animal Shelter is that now when you adopt a pet, not only do they include a wellness check with a vet, the spay and neuter if they aren't already, you get your animal microchipped.
Yes, you
Yes.
do.
So,
That is
and
yes.
unfortunately, we adopted all our animals from there before they started doing
Oh,
that. So
yeah.
I was kind of
Yes.
bummed. I was like, oh, maybe I should be asking, like, to bring them back and be like, can y'all
Can we
just
do this
it?
now?
Next time you go in for your checkup or your shots, go, hey.
Yes, it's an important. Our director started that. I don't know if it was maybe a year ago.
I mean, that just seems like a natural, like,
It
yeah, we
does.
should be doing this for
Right.
any animal
Right.
that leaves
And
there.
I believe it is also one of the new state laws that shelters and so forth have to make sure their animals are microchipped.
Before they release them. That's
Now, and
that's
then,
great.
of course,
Well,
the owner has to, update that information as necessary,
It
yeah,
is,
but it's at least it's some kind of paper trail,
Sure.
some kind of.
I shall
know.
read this.
Sure.
House Bill 604 was signed May the 26th. Requires animal agencies to scan pets for microchips to be reunited with their families as soon as possible. So, they
Right.
have to do that. They have
Yeah.
to check
And
to make
it's-
sure they are microchipped.
Right.
Kurth does require them to be microchipped, and Kurth actually followed the suit of a lot of other shelters that were already doing this. So, if collectively, if all the shelters will make sure this is done, and then House Bill 604 requires them to check, then that right there will
And I
help
think you can take them
sign.
into any vet's office
Any
now
vet,
and get
it's,
them
it's,
scanned.
it's free.
Right.
Like they're not going to charge
Right.
you if you find an animal. You take them to a vet.
Exactly.
Because
They're-
all of the ones
they're-
that have shown up at my house, I go, hey, can you scan it just to make sure there's no
yeah.
chip here?
It takes all of
Exactly.
15 seconds,
If even.
and
Oh,
it's
right.
and it's free. So that's the first thing you
It's
should do if
just
you find something.
right.
So find an animal.
How many pets do you have, Miss Molly?
Right at the moment, I'm down
Yeah.
to 4.
Sorry, I don't want to bring up a sad topic.
No,
We've
it's-
recently
it's,
we've recently lost a few.
I
Yes.
lost last
But you've
year
had some
too.
long-term pets in your
Oh,
house
I
for
have.
a long, long time.
I have, golly, 3 of the ones I have came from Kurth, and then we have a miniature dachshund that I was going to rehome her, and that didn't last long. She laid her head on my shoulder, and that was it.
Those foster failures.
I'm laughing. I am a total foster failure. But my 3 big ones, I have Marley, Millie, and Kimber, and they all came from Kurth. And it's remarkable. I've always said dogs know when you rescue them from a shelter. There's just something about them.
There's something extra.
They are so. It's like a grateful attitude.
Well, you
They are
bailed them out of
wonderful
jail.
companions. I would be grateful too.
They're the best.
be
Honestly,
grateful.
people spend all this money buying these designer dogs and buying them from
Exactly.
breeders,
Yeah.
and really the animals that they get from the shelter are going to be the most loyal, loving pets.
Well,
typically.
yes.
a lot of times
Yeah.
they're going to be healthier too, because a lot of these designer breeds have serious health
That's
problems,
true.
especially as they get older.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So you get a little bit of a mutt,
Right.
and they're going to be your friend for
And
years and years
that
and years.
that mixed breed dog maybe doesn't look cute as
Yeah,
a little
maybe
designer
can't-
dog.
you maybe can't fit
may
it in
not
your
be
purse.
right, but the love and the loyalty and the heart that they have is just as great,
Yeah.
and maybe even more so.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
of course, I'm a little prejudiced on that,
Well,
but
and then
maybe
you're
even more
doing
so.
something as a service to not only the community but to the animal itself. You know, and
Exactly.
I always get a little frustrated with people posting, "Oh, my so and so had 8 puppies, and I'm charging."
Yeah.
Da, da, da. And I just kind of, I try not to be one of those people, but at the same time, I'm mentally going, "Why did you do that? There's so many unwanted animals at the shelter."
So many
Like,
that need homes.
and I
yeah.
get that, you know, that used to be a big deal. I mean, my father used to breed dogs back before
Right.
I was born.
Right.
And, you know, I probably he wouldn't do that today, but like then that was just what you did, you know? And
Right,
he had
sure.
Brittany Spaniels and they were
Sure.
bred specifically for a certain
Right,
purpose. and-
exactly.
but still, like, I kind of think back on that and I'm like, glad you don't do that now. I'd have to have a talking to you.
Well, you know, it's just knowledge is power again. You
Yep.
know, a lot of
Yeah.
people, it's just, you know, when you know better, you do,
You do better.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever owned any exotic animals or gotten to spend any time around some really
Uh,
fun?
My pet alligator now, to me,
yeah,
that was
that's a pretty
exotic. I got
exotic.
that when
That
I
is
was a
pretty
little
exotic.
girl. We had gone to Hot Springs, Arkansas, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And Mom and Dad let me bring home a pet alligator. Of course, he was about a foot long, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it rained really hard one day. I had him in an aquarium outside, and it rained. And that rascal managed to get out. So he's probably somewhere down on the river bottom in Liberty County, you know, the Trinity River down there.
Yeah.
He's probably 10 feet long by now. But
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
yeah. My sister had a python
Ooh.
that we,
cool.
Ooh.
Clyde, that we were very fond of Clyde. Yeah.
Clyde.
The Clyde.
That's
What a name for a snake.
Yeah,
That's so
turned out
funny,
it was
Clyde.
a female, but she was still Clyde.
That's
well,
all
you
right.
know.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
That's a
she's gone
weird
on
thing.
to great snake heaven now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. You can. A lot of people enjoy having pet snakes.
Oh, we brought
pet
home
mice.
grass snakes.
Grass
and,
snakes.
you know, from the
Sure.
pasture that we found.
We
when
had a
were-
bobcat show out at
when
our
we were-
house, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
last week, and I was just like, I wanted to go and be like, here, kitty, kitty. I know that's not a good idea.
No, no,
But my
no.
brain is just like, look, it's a big
know.
kitty cat.
And he
It's
looks
so
so
pretty.
cute.
I'm
so
an idiot. I'm
pretty.
probably gonna die that way. I mean, the last
Yeah.
thing you're gonna hear me say is, pss, 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 you know,
He's
come
so
here.
pretty, and he looks so soft.
cute.
Look at those great big
Yeah,
I
eyes.
know. He
Aw.
has his little bobtail.
Yeah.
He
Can't bring that thing
They're
inside,
so-
but
yeah.
still, in my head, I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to help it. You know, of course, you know they're
Yeah.
probably looking for food or water this time of year because it's
Yeah,
hot.
right. They're down there
So-
around your pond. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a
Probably
lot
so.
of exotic animals come through our
I
our
bet you
yard.
have.
area,
I
yeah.
bet you have.
We had a
crazy.
couple of raccoons growing up. Those were fun.
Oh yeah,
Little.
Oh,
I have a friend. She's got 2 pet raccoons.
Yeah.
little
They're
bandits.
little
That's
bandits.
right.
They act like cats, basically.
They're like cat dogs. They're
Yeah.
cat dogs with opposable thumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
They're-
get a bad rap
Oh,
sometimes.
they're so much fun.
Possums
so
and
much
raccoons, they
fun.
catch it. They get
Oh,
a bad
no.
rap.
Yeah,
And I
I
love-
don't bother them. Like if they're doing
No.
good for the
Yeah.
ecosystem,
No,
I just leave
exactly.
them alone.
Right.
No, possum. Hey, first of all, possums are
Eating
immune to snake bites.
Right.
There's actually a study being done right now that is they're trying to develop a broad spectrum antivenom with these. I don't know, using a possum. I don't know, enzyme or whatever that they
Right,
use because
right.
they're basically immune and they get rid of ticks and they're super good friends with cats.
Yes,
My
yeah.
my little man had a possum buddy and they would play all the time.
Yeah.
They were both about the same age.
And they're so cute.
They're so cute when they're
They're
little.
so ugly. They're cute.
so cute when they're little, and then they get older, and you're like,
And what happened there?
It's a giant rat
Yeah.
with sharp teeth.
Oh goodness. So you've worked at the animal shelter. Why don't you tell us a little bit of history of how that kind of the shelter here in Lufkin kind of came to be, and you know what you know anyway.
What I know, I wished I did know more. I know when I moved here in 1964, the animal shelter, as it were, was located out there by the zoo.
Oh, okay.
It was a small facility, and I know Lufkin was doing the best they could at the time. It was a small facility. Later on in years, they received an endowment, and Lufkin was able to put their resources together more with this endowment, this gift to the city, and they were able to have the land, which is now on Hill Street, and golly, I'm not for sure how old it is, but it's well over 20 years
Oh,
old.
yeah.
It's,
I wouldn't say
the
that.
building
Yeah.
is getting, it's
They built it, I think, when I was in high school or
long.
junior high.
It's listen to me, a long time ago. I don't mean that.
That was been a while.
Let's just say it's been a while.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm getting
And
old.
it's but it's the shelter's been there ever since. It's 1901.
And they've
Hill Street.
expanded
They
several
have. They
times.
expanded. The city's done what they can with their resources and so forth. Of course, I'm prejudiced. I always want more. But
Yeah.
it's
There's
it
got to
is-
be people like you, though, doing what you do, or
Yeah.
progress would never get made.
well.
true.
it's,
So,
I'm,
and I'm not trying to trump you up, like, oh, you're this great person, but you are. You really are. There are people like you who use all their energy and they expend all this time and money and just doing the things that you do. And if we didn't have people like you, this
Well-
wouldn't get done the way that it's getting done to the extent it's getting done.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we
I-
need people
I-
like you.
I appreciate that, and I encourage other people to also, just be a voice.
Yeah.
There's many ladies that came before me,
Sure.
and I hope there will be many ladies that follow me because, this isn't something that you can do forever. There's going to come a time that I'm not able
It
to
takes
do this.
it takes an emotional toll on you
It
too.
does.
Because
It does.
you've been doing this a decade volunteering,
Right.
and now you've started this group that advocates for the shelter.
It's a
lot
work
of-
in process. When I first
a
started
lot.
volunteering, I was like, I can't go back there. I don't want to go back there where they are. I want to look at them. It's too sad. I can't do it. And that was my mindset for a couple of years. I just let me do other things, and we did do that to the best of our ability. And then it got to I had this epiphany, which was like, how are you going to really help unless you don't go back there? You have to go back there. Man up, swallow your tears or cry or whatever you need to do, but you do it. And I started doing it. It gets, I don't want to say easier, but you become more able to function.
You build
at
up
that
a not a
capacity.
callousness, but a
No,
support.
because you have a
support.
greater goal that you're trying to reach.
Right.
One of my
And
friends
so-
that lives in Seattle, she fosters kittens, especially ones with like issues.
Right.
And I asked her, I was like, Deanna, how do you do this? Like, I fostered 2 kittens and then I ended up adopting them. Like, how do you not want to keep them all? And she was like, you do.
Yeah.
You
But
do.
she was like, you understand that you physically, as a single person,
Right.
cannot handle everything
Exactly.
with all
Know
the
your
animals that come through.
limitations,
So
and
she
it's
has like
okay.
I think 3 or 4 cats of her own.
Right.
But then she every cycle tends to foster these and then she'll have like a couple weeks in between, and then
Right.
she'll get a new batch of kittens, and it is all year long. And
It
she did
is.
take a break for a
It
while because she
is.
was like, I was getting so emotionally like.
And it's
Drained,
okay. It is
yeah.
okay to
Yeah.
step back.
Sometimes
it
you
is
need to do
okay
that
to
because
step
you
back.
can't give them your best.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
If you're
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's okay to step back and say, I
Yeah.
need a break. I need a breather. I need to emotionally repair myself.
Right.
So, if you can't take care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to do best for them. You're not going to be able to provide for them.
Pour out of an empty cup.
Exactly.
She
Yeah.
and I think that was smart. And she took a break, and then she went back into it, and she's had quite a few really hard cases since then.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm in awe, and I'm always commenting and saying you're doing a great job, and liking the posts she posts, on
Right,
Instagram, because she has an Instagram account for these cats that she fosters and
Right.
tries to get them homes and
Yeah.
things like that. And I wish I had the time right now to devote to that kind of thing, but right now all I can give is money.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
again, everybody,
Well,
whatever you can do.
Yeah.
Money and
Not
some life.
everybody can do the same thing, and
Sure.
it's great that they can't, because everybody doing one thing, that wouldn't work. So everybody has to do what they can, and everything is appreciated. And,
I always
don't ever think it's
when
too
people ask me,
small.
well, what would you do if you won the lottery or somebody gave you $1 million? And I was like, the first thing I would do is buy a huge piece of property and build
Yes.
this gigantic facility and hire a couple of vets, and I would bring all the animals there and have vets on staff and animal people on staff and zoologists, because we would take them all.
I mean,
Just take all of them.
absolutely.
And I get
Absolutely.
funny looks like, you would do that? You wouldn't like do this? I was like, well, sure, I would do those things too, but like that would be
Yeah.
a thing that would not only create a legacy, but would do some good
Exactly,
in the community and help
right.
out animals. And
Yeah.
like, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
If you had $1 million, Miss Molly, is that what?
What would you do?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness! Yes, I can just My mind is just racing now.
Let's go with inflation. Let's go 10 million, because a million's not going to go very far.
That's true.
When you're trying to spay and neuter and vaccinate
I would
thousands
have
of animals.
so many mobile units going out everywhere spaying and neutering animals. I mean, every precinct would have a big old, spay neuter mobile
There's no
unit.
excuse.
No excuse.
It's free.
And
Just
it's
get in
even
line.
free. I would pay for it.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. We could work together. I would have a
There you
permanent
go.
facility for the animals that couldn't go anywhere,
Right.
and then we could have mobile facilities all over that just went out
Right.
and just did it, and just there would be no more
Yeah.
excessive animals.
Because
that weren't
I
wanted.
understand it. Let's face it, reality. It does cost to spay and neuter your
Does.
animal.
Well, but at the
It
same
does
time,
cost.
if you don't, and it is difficult sometimes to come up with that money. However, if you can put back $1 a day, 50
Right.
cents a day, 10 cents a day for a month or so,
It adds up.
it adds up, and you can, and eventually you'll be able to do it, and you're not going to miss that $1. You're not going to miss that quarter, and put it in a jar, and within a
Right.
couple months, especially if you have a puppy or a young animal, start doing it when you get them. But the thing is if you don't do that, and then you end up, they go into heat, or they run off and they smell somebody in heat and they go do their thing, and you end up with all these puppies or all these kittens,
Then there
and now
you
all
are.
of a sudden you're having to feed
Right.
twice as many.
So it's really cheaper to
more.
stop the problem to begin with.
It's that
Cut the
initial
source.
Yeah,
Right.
it's that
Source.
initial investment that's going to save you in the long run.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you think about it like that, then it's just a smart thing to do.
Right, it's preventative.
Yeah.
It's just
An ounce of prevention is
an
worth a
ounce of
pound of cure.
prevention. There
Yeah.
you go.
That's the root of the issue with all the
Yeah.
unwanted animals. So that's
Yeah.
where we really gotta work to.
This is it.
Do you
That's
have
what
any super heartwarming or just endearing stories of working and volunteering at the shelter, like that you want to
golly.
share?
It's
that-
just
do we have enough time?
I mean,
enough
pick
time.
one recently, maybe.
I have met so many dear people there.
Yeah.
Just dear, dear souls that give of themselves unconditionally. All their resources, monetary. I mean, it's just unreal what some people can do if they're able to do that,
Yeah.
or whatever they do. We have one lady that comes, and she, no matter how hot it is or cold, she'll come every day and just take them out one at a time to the paw park where they can run around. And things like this touch me because it's something, she doesn't have to do this. And this other lady that has the ability, has the resources to do so much financially. It's just what people, the little things.
And then you have a photographer that
We have-
volunteers that comes in and takes pictures
Yeah.
of the animals.
Well, or she tries to.
Well,
But those
they
are
won't
cute.
sit still. It's hard.
Let me tell you what. We had Leslie Anders can do cats like nobody's business.
Yes, she can.
Cats, for me, they look at me like, lady, you think I'm going to pose for you? I mean, you smell like a dog. No, you just want... Leslie is gifted. She is just gifted with cats, with all animals.
And she does a great job.
She does a great job. She is a phenomenal photographer. I try to fill in and send her pictures and so forth, but we laughed. I said, Leslie, the cats just smell dog on me or something. It was like, go away, But, everybody tries to do something. But it's just the shelter itself over the course of the years has the people that have come in there and have worked diligently, staff and volunteers. It does touch your heart to see people do so much for these guys that are helpless.
Yeah.
They're helpless. They do not have a voice, and they sure don't have anybody to help them unless you choose to do so.
Right.
Well, speaking of all of that, what are some ways people can get involved? I know that, you can donate money and items, you can
Right.
volunteer, you can foster. We've got some upcoming fundraisers, if you want to talk about that for a minute.
We do. We have, August the 7th. We're going to have our Night House event. Night House is normally in conjunction with the Clear the Shelter, but Clear the Shelter has changed a little bit, over the past year or two. What we're going to probably do on that Saturday is have a barbecue plate for sale, which we've done that in the past. Well, we'll get some raffles together, maybe a couple of silent auctions, and the adoption fee that day will be a minimum donation of $20 for an animal on that one particular day.
Okay.
So, you can go in there and adopt an animal for a minimum donation. Of course, you can always offer more, but for $20 a minimum. And this goes toward the financial part where we raise the money. It goes toward the vetting fund, and that's something
Yeah.
very close to my heart. Absolutely.
That's and for anybody
Very
listening who's
close.
like, well, why do I have to pay to adopt one of these mongrels from the shelter? This is why there's a bit of a fee. Number one, we want the animals going to somebody who actually wants to spend and
Exactly.
invest in the
Right,
animal.
right.
And then two, what you just mentioned,
Right.
there's a vetting fund where when you adopt an animal from the shelter, you automatically get a free spay or neuter and then a wellness check. And I say free. The part of the cost of the adoption goes into that. So that's why a
It's-
big part of it why you have to
Right.
pay.
Yeah.
And, as we've already spoken about, since the shelter takes in roughly 5,000 a year, do you know how many of these animals come in there that are sick? Or they're hurt. They've been
so
hit
many.
by something has happened to them. It can be a minor thing. It can be a
Or
serious
they're
thing.
overrun with worms.
And the vetting fund we established several years ago to primarily help these injured or sick animals
Yes.
that come into the shelter. This gives Kurth the ability to send this animal to the vet,
Yes.
so they can either be saved or just become adoptable.
Yeah.
So the vetting fund is for that. And when we raise money at the fundraisers, which we're going to have night owls, and then October the 1st, this is going to be the first year we're going to do this in October. COVID threw everything off.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah.
we're trying
Yeah.
to kind of find our bearings again, get back on track. October the 1st is going to be on a Friday this year, and this is, again, the first time we've ever had it on Friday. But scheduling, this is what only way we could do it, with scheduling. So Glenn Linderman, if y'all never come, it's great fun. Live music, dancing. We have
It's the boots.
Boots Best Buddies and
Yeah.
Barbecue will be held, right.
I knew it was a bunch of bees.
It's
but
a
I was
bunch
not
of
being
bees.
right.
A lot of people just call it that bee thing you're doing. the bee.
Yeah.
But it's October the 1st, and October is your adopt a shelter dog month. So we're going to kick it off with this dance, and it's great fun. We have a lot of silent auctions, raffles, Vetapetry. You pay $20 and you get a gift, but you don't know what's in that gift. So it's just fun. It's just
Yeah.
fun, and then dancing to Glenn's music. He's just
Yeah.
phenomenal entertainer.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's held at the convention center. I think it's going to be this year, 6 to 10. And we're going to try to go back and get on a regular schedule and do another one in March, because we've always had them in March.
Right.
March was a good time of year, and because we had night owls in the summer, and then we have the dance in March, so they kind of offset each other.
Right.
And again, the funds raised from this will go toward CASA and go toward the vetting fund of the shelter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Good deal.
very important. We always invite the public to come, and since COVID, hopefully, it's
On the way out.
on the way out,
Yeah.
and everybody's
Yeah.
got their
Well, hopefully.
rabies
Their-
tags.
yeah, the
that we-
rabies tags, yeah,
got
that
our
we were
rabies
joking about.
tags,
Oh,
our
yeah.
COVID tags.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
I feel confident. Of course, we will always adhere to the rules of the city, or if they have
Right.
restrictions. Of course,
Right.
we will abide by that. But it's a fun event. It's just
Yeah.
fun.
Well, here's hoping that the one in October goes so well that y'all decide to have 3 a year, and one in March. and then
That
one
would be
summer, and
wonderful.
Spring, summer, fall.
That
you go.
that would be
I think
wonderful.
that's just
It
makes
would
sense.
be wonderful. We're just always looking for ways to bring money in to the vetting fund.
Understand. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it's sad. It goes quickly because there's so many animals that come in that
Well,
need
and that
help.
need it so much. Yeah.
They need help.
Before we have to wrap up, I wanted to talk, because we were kind of talking off mic before we started recording, about some recent legislation that has kind of passed through the Texas
Right.
State
Yes.
Congress and,
Yes.
and Senate. And Miss Molly, I know that's very passionate and dear to your heart. So if you want to talk a little bit about the most recent bill that they were trying to pass that got
They
vetoed.
were trying to.
That would have really helped promote, animal rights and
Yes,
treating
it's,
animals humanely. What was that bill?
The bill ended up being Senate Bill 474. I'm going to read this to you just
Yep,
so
go
you
right
know
ahead.
Yeah,
precisely.
absolutely.
Texas Humane Legislation Network's priority legislation this session. The bill will have kept tethered dogs and the people around them safe by defining adequate shelter, requiring drinkable water, striking the use of chains, and eliminating the 24-hour waiting period that prevents officers from taking action when a tethered dog is in distress. Right now, the way the laws in Texas are, there is no concise and precise definition of what a doghouse should be. You will see a puppy with a logging chain on it. There are things that are heartbreaking, and unfortunately, although this passed in the House and in the Senate of the state of Texas, the governor vetoed the bill.
Yeah.
It was very, very disappointing for everyone that's worked very hard.
I mean, that seems like such just a no-brainer, like an absolute,
would
let's treat
seem
animals
that
right.
More
way.
common sense, yeah.
It's just common sense, compassionate care for animals, period.
Right.
If you had a dog outside, and if your dog has a good dog house to get in that will provide protection from severe weather, rain, if they can stand up, if they're comfortable in it, if your dog has ample room to maneuver, if they have water, if they have food, if their basic needs are met, if they didn't have too heavy a chain on them, which you wouldn't have to worry about this. This would not have affected you. This was a bill that was addressing people that are not that, should I say, caring and responsible.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, the bill was vetoed by Governor Abbott, but the Texas Humane Legislation Network has suffered setbacks in the past. They will not be deterred.
Yes.
They
And I
will
know a
not
lot of
be
people are
deterred.
pretty upset that it passed
It's,
both the Senate and the Congress, and he decided to veto
And he decided to veto
And
it.
there's been, I think, a bit of some noise made.
And
hopefully that'll
rightfully
change.
rightfully so.
Change that.
What is it? I apologize, I don't know everything, but what the Texas session was, it every 2 years they meet, something to that effect.
Oh, gosh.
So, in
Yeah.
other words, it's going to be 2 more years, unless they can come up with a special thing,
session.
which I doubt
Yeah.
they will. That was vetoed, and that was a gut punch, is what it was.
Yeah.
I hope to learn more. I do not know everything right now of why it was vetoed. I do have a Facebook page, the Kurth Animal Advocates page, where I am posting updates, and as I know them, I will put them on that page, and you have access to that. People can look it up.
Yep.
You can even join it if you want to. Just there's 4 simple questions to answer. Answer that, and you can become a member. But I do share this so that everyone can see it, whether you're a member or not. There is a phone number there you can call to voice your concerns. Now, we're all extremely distraught about this, but we also encourage not for people to become so fanatical that we come off sounding like a bunch of crazies.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
If we want to
definitely.
make progress,
Right.
we need to,
So I encourage
Civility
people,
has to be-
civility,
Yes.
please,
Yes.
be respectful, be civil, but you can still be determined
Sure.
and still state your cause.
Yeah.
What was that the late John Lewis said? You just make good trouble.
Yeah.
And that hit with me. It's good trouble.
Yeah.
You don't be irresponsible, ugly, threatening.
Yeah.
But
none of that.
you just persevere with your goal, and your goal is to say, these guys matter, and they don't have anybody else except your voice and my voice. And we needed the governor to understand that. This was not something that was asking too much.
Right.
It's basic.
It was
just
basic.
bare
Now,
requirements.
basic.
If you don't mind, just in the spirit of education, and please forgive me if I'm wrong, correct me. As the laws stand now, there are certain things when the temperature is over. I don't know all the details,
Okay,
but when
see,
the
we-
temperature is over a certain
Right.
degrees, you
Right.
can't
Under a
leave.
certain
Right, or
it is in there.
You're
It
not,
is in there.
You're not allowed to leave your dog outside
It is in
between the
there.
hours of
Exactly.
when it's real cold or when it's real
But-
hot.
The way it is written, and I'm only telling you what I have been told by people that know more than I, it's just about unenforceable. I have spoken with people at the sheriff's department. This past, for example,
the winter storm.
this winter what we
Yeah,
just had.
yeah,
Okay,
the-
wow. I was getting many calls, texts from people, as was the shelter and the county sheriff's office. They were too. People saying, this dog's out here. He's freezing. What do I do? What can you do? And I called the sheriff's office and was told that as long as they had a blanket and as long as there was some kind of a heat lamp, there was nothing they could do.
We didn't have electricity to power heat
So
lamps.
this was the answer I
The
was
blanket's
given.
not going to do much when it's
Not
-3.
when it's 4 degrees.
Yeah.
So I knew then what we have to understand, what I had to learn, the county can only do what the state tells them to
Allows-
do.
yeah.
The city has more leeway. The city can make their own ordinances.
Mm-hmm.
The county cannot. The county has to strictly adhere by state.
Right. And it's in these
rules.
rural communities,
Right.
where
Right.
where
Right.
most of this happens.
So when
and
the
it's
state
important.
fails to do something, then the county does not have the wherewithal and the bearings to say we can do something about that, because the state has not given them this law, which would have been precise and would have been
Clearly defined
clearly
exactly
defined.
what, you know,
You
they
can't,
need
in
to
other
do.
words, 4 different deputies couldn't go out there and say, oh, well, this one looks fine, this looks okay, and another deputy come, well, that doesn't look good. You know,
Yeah.
it was not
There's a
open to
standard. Yeah.
interpretation.
Right.
This would have given the county the wherewithal they would have needed to say, we need to do something now. And it has just been devastating that the governor vetoed this.
Yeah.
I encourage people again to call and voice your complaints. I have a phone number here,
Yes.
Eva.
Read it out for us.
I will
Please.
read it. The number is 512-463-2000. 512-463-2000. This was the Senate Bill 474. Be respectful,
Yes.
you know,
Be respectful, but let them know you're
be
not
civil,
happy about it.
but let them know in no uncertain terms that this should have been passed.
It
And
costs nothing.
It costs nothing.
It was just
again,
ridiculous.
and some people,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and understandably, because of the climate we live in nowadays and the politics of it, politics can come into this, ladies. Let's just face it.
Unfortunately,
It
yeah.
can do it. And I would ask, I don't care what you are. I do not care if you're Republican or Democrat or independent or whatever.
Whatever else.
This is for the animals. This is for these guys, these 8-month-old puppies out there with logging chains on them.
They
Come
know,
on.
They know nothing
They
about
know
politics.
nothing. They don't know politics. And what kind of heart does a person have that can see nothing wrong with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? How do you lay down at night
Yeah.
and not see that this
You got to be
is
good
something?
stewards of animals.
You
We've been
have to
kept
be.
in charge of them.
And,
you
and,
know,
and I
it's-
think
it's our
God even
responsibility.
asked us to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It did
Well,
not
So if
God
you
asked us
believe
to
that,
do
if
that.
that's your faith, then why
Yeah.
wouldn't you,
Right.
promote
Right.
anything that
Right.
gave animals a chance at life?
Just a
Right.
we're just saying, give them a decent life.
and
Yeah.
we're the ones who domesticated them in the first place.
That's
Exactly.
right.
They didn't pick this.
They didn't pick this.
Cats
I've
might
got-
have,
right there you
Cats
go.
domesticated
But
themselves.
have you ever thought about a dog is nothing? Their whole life is just pure chance. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Their whole life, from the moment they're born until they die, is simply luck of the draw.
Yeah,
Some get lucky, and some
Some
don't.
don't. definitely.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's the luck of the draw.
Well, we
And so-
thank you so much for all the work that you've done,
Well,
and all the
I'm
people
very
that you work
much.
with that do so much to
They
kind of bring
do.
this
I
awareness.
appreciate the chance to just be able to say and speak to the public about something that, we can all do something, and
Do our
their
part.
lives are in our hands.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody where they can find CASA on the internet or on social media, and
Well,
where they
it's-
can find Kurth Animal Shelter?
Kurth Animal Shelter is 1901 Hill Street. It's off
Here
of
in
Frank.
Lufkin. Yeah.
Right. It's just not hard to find, and you turn on Hill Street and keep going straight, and it'll be down there on your left. They're open from 10 until 4:45, Monday through Saturday. So I encourage people to go look at the animals. If you can adopt, of course, volunteer in whatever capacity you can.
If you can't go to the location, you can get online.
You
and
can
see,
get online.
What is it?
Petfinder.com.
Thank you.
Right,
Yes.
you can look
Yes,
on there,
you can look
and
on
you
there.
can see adoptable animals. Kurth Animal Shelter Advocates has a Facebook page. And you look on that.
Yep. And we'll link all these different things on our social media.
Yeah, and we encourage people to become involved. If we don't do these things as a community, then it won't get done. This animal shelter is only going to be as good as Lufkin and Angelina County want it to be.
Yep.
So it's, the ball's in our court.
We got to do better.
It's up to us.
Definitely. Well, Miss Molly, thank you so much
Thank
for coming on
you.
and talking about this
great.
with us.
Thank you so much for giving us
I hope we
platform.
educated some people on what to do and what they can do to get involved.
And if you have any more questions, I'm easy to find on Facebook. I'm not, and you can contact me via their messenger. Look on the Kurth Animal Shelter Advocates page. And feel free to ask questions and so forth.
Definitely.
We welcome that, and I don't know all the answers. I do not.
Yeah. Well, nobody
but you
does.
try.
But
I am
We're all
a
just
voice, and I just encourage other people to join in with us, and their lives are in our hands.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions or comments, please message us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Do you have a story to tell? We want to hear it. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast and share your story, contact us on our website at PaynePoints.com or any of the social media linked on our website. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We'd appreciate a review, a like, or a comment to let us know what you think. You can find all of our podcasts linked on our website under the podcast tab. Once again, thanks for joining us, and we want to wish everybody a wonderful day.